Honest J. Nowak. Oh yeah.
A pleasure to meet all at last, and welcome back to Honest J. Nowak and the Legacy of Supers. And now, let me just say for sure that this is in fact a pretty big deal for a lot of people out there who know so much about the Marvel Universe. Because I'm finally getting around to this character now. The title down there makes it clear. I'll be talking about the Mad Titan, Thanos. Yeah. This is in fact the supervillain that billions of people continuously talk about. There's a die-hard following in the Avengers film series from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And the reason being that Infinity War at first grew an enormous box office record at the time. Though, of course, since I never worked with the Marcus Theaters during 2018, I pretty much missed out on that entire craze. But of course, I was at least there throughout the start of 2019 because April 26th, 2019 was the day that everybody started coming around. We all came together. The entire world was lining up to watch this highly anticipated sequel to the Infinity Saga, Endgame. And what I can say for sure at this point is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe reached its peak of box office records, critics' reviews, and expressive glory. Because that was the film that has now made the ultimate box office record. Even more than Titanic, even more than Avatar, even more than Citizen Kane, if you bumped up inflation rates up until today. I mean, it was that incredible at the time. The film itself was more than 3 hours in length, but I will say for sure that it is in fact once in a lifetime at the time. There may never be another film that ever tops this kind of film. And the reason for that being is, well, mainly the main antagonist in the Infinity Saga throughout those two films alone. Infinity War and Endgame were the films in the MCU with the character Thanos, who was played by Josh Brolin, who you might already recognize from some older films way back in the day, such as The Goonies and a few others here and there that you may not know about so well. But wow, it's incredible to see Josh Brolin back in action after a long time that we haven't really seen Josh Brolin in any super big film out there. I mean, The Goonies was pretty much the last greatest thing to have ever happened with Josh Brolin in it. And that's pretty much just at the top of my own head. But maybe anyone else who's a big expert on Josh Brolin could probably let me know what other super big films with Josh Brolin out there do exist. Well, anyways, Thanos, the Mad Titan, the giant purple Barney-like thing around there. I mean, there's a ton of jokes that people have come up with, even on the set of the MCU. I couldn't joke around even if I possibly tried on my best day. Because there were actually jokes out there that the actors in the sets of Infinity War and Endgame have come up with to pretty much tease and taunt against the Thanos character there. Yeah. That's how incredible the whole experience out there must have been. Because after all, the MCU cast itself already tell us that they have a great experience on the sets of whatever film it is that they're in. But now Infinity War brings just about everybody together. Everyone that's still alive, for the most part. Every villain and hero out there that are still around and fighting. And that was one of the main reasons why it got a huge deal in both box office records, critics' reviews, and so much more. But then, it pretty much left room for a sequel. Endgame. Yeah. That was in fact the film that got so well prepared, so well put together, that it tops every other film in existence. And being that I was working with the Marcus Theaters Corporation at the time, that's how big the craze was. I was able to witness tens of thousands of people coming over to the Menominee Falls division just to see Endgame, but also to see many other films that were out there at the time. And so, that right there is pretty much what it is. Thanos' main goal in both of these films was to collect all 6 Infinity Stones. The Mind Stone, Power Stone, Time Stone, Space Stone, Soul Stone, and of course, there's the 6th one out there, the Reality Stone. Of course, they were all given specific colors to represent different parts of the rainbow. And of course, in Infinity War, Thanos proves to be a success by collecting all 6 of the stones and snapping, which causes the entire universe to be decimated, leaving only 50% of all life to survive. But eventually in Endgame, the whole process ends up getting reversed after the Infinity Gauntlet, along with all 6 Infinity Stones, have been gathered by the Avengers, or what's left of them. And then, of course, after getting back to their own time, Thanos somehow finally follows them and then prepares for battle. Attempts to decimate Avengers HQ. And the rest of that film is pretty much just trying to stop Thanos once and for all. Eventually, though, Captain Marvel arrives on the scene to make everything much easier for them. But of course, Thanos would eventually overwhelm them and attempt to create a snap yet again, to decimate life yet again. But of course, a ploy comes into play, where Tony Stark makes a sacrifice by actually making the snap with all 6 Infinity Stones, which would of course reverse the snap and instead decimate Thanos' army. Yeah. That was quite a satisfying ending to the Infinity Saga, though it wasn't quite over yet. Not yet. Of course, there was Spider-Man Far From Home. That was pretty much like the true ending to it, as it did carry on after the events of Endgame. And you know what? All of this stuff right here that I got to talk about Thanos, I've sure carried on through minutes upon minutes of HJN time, but you know what? Those films were an exceptionally big deal. I wouldn't say they are the greatest films of all time, because I know where my personal ratings go in my personal top picks of films in general. I'd pretty much give Infinity War an 8.7 out of 10, being that it is in fact one of the ultimate crossovers that I never knew could possibly happen, with all the legal issues and the like that would have been put into place, possibly lawsuits. But I suppose that probably justifies the enormous budget that Marvel Studios and Disney had put together. Same with Endgame. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars have been put into the budget. But of course, the total box office gross was over a few billion. So way more times than that of their budget. And that's it. Thanos the Mad Titan was the villain that pretty much created some of the greatest known films in history that we got right now. And being that they came out in recent years, it's a wonder how someone could come by and eventually create some of the greatest known productions, some of the greatest known motion pictures that we ever would have come together to learn about, to know about, to watch. and to look at shock and awe how something like that could be so successful. But yeah, that's just that. But if you want to see more, go down to my channel, as I do have a lot of villains out there that I'm still going to be talking about here. Then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.